Welcome to the Dental Decoders podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Rogars, and I'm here to help you crack the code on all things dental operations. Each week, we dive into topics to help you overcome roadblocks, streamline operations, and reduce team burnout. Whether you're an owner, a practice manager, or a team member, this podcast is for you. Join us for insightful discussions, engaging interviews, and practical tips. So sit back and relax as we crack the code on all things dental operations together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dental Decoders podcast. Before we dig into today's episode, we've got some exciting news to share. This episode is sponsored by Flex Dental, a game changer in dental practice management. For not one, but 3 amazing episodes, we are joined by Jenny Bauer from Flex. And during those episodes, we're going to dig into how Flex Dental seamlessly integrates with open dental software, offers tools designed to enhance communication with your patients, streamlines your team's workflow, boosts your case acceptance, and increases payment collections. If you are listening to this episode and you want to see Flex in action, check out the links in the show notes to learn more or schedule a demo. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So stay tuned for this chat with Jenny Bauer as we explore Flex Dental and how it can revolutionize your practice. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, Decoders, and welcome back to another awesome episode. I am once again joined by the incredible Jenny Bauer. She works with Flex, and she has someone that I've known for a very long time, and I'm very excited to have her here for part 3 of our 3-part series on all things Flex. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brittany. How are you?
Pretty good. Before we kind of dig into Flex, you want to start by just telling us just a little bit about you and a very short background on Flex?
Been with Flex for about 3.5 years. Started as a trainer, then moved into customer success manager. So it's a lot of fun working with all the clients. Keeps me super busy. So that's good. Started in dental a very long time ago in the office. Eventually moved to a local software company also related to dental, and then made my way back to the office again, and then found my way to Flex. So it's been a great transition over the years to just have those experiences there.
And you've got to work with some really cool people along the way.
I know. And it's so great, even with your experiences now going into offices, it's just amazing all the paths that you pass and sometimes they circle back years later. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me no matter how hard you try, Miss Bauer.
Yep.
So today I wanted to dig into, so first, I guess before we even dig in, if you haven't listened to the first 2 episodes, after you finish this one, I strongly recommend you going back. If you're not already a Flex user, you're going to want to be by the end of this 3-part series. If you are already a Flex user, you probably still are going to learn something along the way that you could optimize inside your Flex system. So strongly recommend checking out part 1 and 2 if you haven't already. Today, I want to talk about some pieces of Flex that I have not been lucky enough to work with as closely. So today is mostly me selfishly asking you questions on things. So first piece is I hear that you guys have a Huddle feature. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that is and how it can help an office?
Yeah, we do have a Huddle feature. I think in the office, starting off your day right on the right foot is the best thing. We need to make sure that we're already prepared for the unexpected and the expected and, kind of go into it that way. So our Huddle for the day, some really good information in there is telling you the appointment status. So if you still have some patients that haven't confirmed and it's a 2-hour long appointment, you might want to get on that and call them before that time gets there. It shows if they're due for recall, some financial stuff, and, just a quick summary of the patients there. So really good, easy to just kind of go through your patients for the day. There's a section that talks about your production, your income, and ratio of your income to production. So that's really nice, and you can set goals. And there's a graph in there that'll kind of demonstrate or display where you are in relation to the month. So if you have a set goal, let's just say it's 100,000, and we're at the end of the month here and you're at 120, great, it's going to show green and say you've exceeded your goal for the month. But if you're at 90, it might show in a different color of like a goldish color. So just kind of reflecting where you would be and where you should have been. So a lot of visuals there. I know a lot of offices do talk about goals daily, making sure the teams are all on the same page and understand what those goals look like. So that's a really nice piece to be able to see in there. It gives a summary of the patients coming in today, like any pre-med patients, how many new patients, and the value of the patients that are all scheduled. In addition, there's a box on there that talks about some things that happened yesterday, for the production, the case acceptance rate, the hygiene reappointment rate, and so on. So really nice way to take a look at how the day before went when you're starting off the next day. There's a section that talks about aging claims. Some practices talk closely about that, because the importance of making sure that's always looked at and kept up to date on, so, that doesn't get too big of a list. And then the last piece is going to be if you were waiting for x-rays for a patient. So what that means is with our Flex forms, you can actually present a question to the patient like, would you like us to request x-rays from another office? And if they answer yes, we can put that note into the Open Dental side of the patient's, profile page, where it would let them know that's been requested. And then we keep track of that, stating that, hey, we're waiting for Jane Smith's x-rays. Her appointment is scheduled September 15th. So it's just a little reminder to practices that x-rays maybe were requested and not received yet. All the office has to do when they receive those x-rays is put the receive date in or clear out that they requested it. So really easy. But I think it's a nice follow-up piece, because so oftentimes send those requests out or make a phone call or an email, and then it's kind of forgotten, right? It's kind of forgotten. You just assume it's going to happen, that you're going to get those x-rays back. And all of a sudden, the morning of, a hygienist or, assistant's like, hey, did we get those x-rays? And then the office is scrambling. So that's like one of the really cool pieces that I like, and I think offices could take advantage of that. And you can look at days ahead. You can look at previous dates, because there's also a notes section that you can save those notes and look back at too.
That's awesome. I think Huddle is one of those things that pretty much everybody does a Huddle now, but everybody's always asking, like, how can we make sure we're making the most of this time? What things should we talk about? How should we adjust our Huddle? So having this template and having it with the graphs so it's visual, I think is going to be super helpful for offices. And you talked about the outstanding claims piece. I'm a revenue cycle management nerd, so having the whole team involved in that revenue cycle is my bread and butter. I talk about it every day. So I love that you have the option to have that conversation, because if a claim is outstanding, it's not necessarily because of something that the admin team did or did not do. It could very much so be because we're not getting images that we need or chart notes that we need. So I do think that having that option for the whole team to take ownership is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention those graphs. Some offices don't, want to necessarily have those conversations or have it shared in those huddles. They can be hidden for users. So it is something that like only certain users could have access to if an office chooses to hide those from other users.
Absolutely. And I think that's great too, because like you said, not every office has the same flavor. Some offices think metrics is kind of like a dirty word and they don't want to talk about it. And others are like always talking metrics. So I like that it has that flexibility, but either way, no matter what your flavor is, you can have a huddle ready for you that doesn't require a lot of preparation to still be successful.
Exactly.
Now, I personally don't think metrics is a dirty word. I think metrics is a sexy word. So I
agree. I love it.
I want to hear more about the analytics side of Flex, because I do love the numbers and I do love being able to measure our success. So another piece of the puzzle outside of Huddle is Flex Analytics. Can you just dive into that and what all that can do?
Yeah, let me give you a little information on it. And what I want to say too is our insights is what we call it. The analytics is included with all our Flex subscriptions. So the base Flex subscription does include it. So there's not an additional package needed for it or anything like that. But it's been a growing piece. We keep adding things to it that we're super excited about. But we have, a lot of the main things that offices are looking for, the production for the offices. Like let me just back up for a moment. When you come in, you get to see a dashboard, and the dashboard is going to display small little graphs of different areas. And it does a rolling 13 months so that an office can see what that has looked like over the last 13 months to compare, where they're at. Not just looking at today or this month, it's nice to see those trends. And so you can see your production by type, whether it's doctor and hygiene, adjusted production, income by provider, your reappointment rate, your patient attrition, your new patient count, your aging AR graph, production per visit by provider type. That's a big one that I think, gets forgotten or, not looked at closely. And there's a lot of good value in that. Collection rate by provider type, unscheduled treatment totals, case acceptance rate by provider type, and one of our newest is fluoride rate per hygiene appointment.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Fluoride is something that I pretty much across the board, unless we're talking to my holistic clients, everybody wants to know how they're doing on fluoride. It's part of almost every office's standard of care, and not a lot of people are tracking that. So I love that you guys have that metric now. And that's going to be super helpful. What is the insights? Is everything graphical? Is it numbers? Do we have to go look at it every day? Is it emailed us? How does it actually work?
Oh yeah, really good point. So it doesn't get emailed, so you would just look at it as needed on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, if that's what you do. It does start off as graphs. There's different ways of making it full screen. You can export it into different, like a CSV or just an image and things like that. If you would prefer, you could pull it up as a table too. With that 13-month rolling, months of seeing that, we also did just add custom dates too. So if you did want to see something different on that. And then that's the dashboard. So the dashboard is going to show you like things, let's say production by provider type. It shows you your doctor, your hygiene. You can go into that specific insight and then see it by all providers individually, because you might have 5 doctors and you might have 4 hygienists or whatever that is. And now you want to compare what that looks like per provider. So you're able to go in and sort those out too.
And I know a lot of doctors, especially when we're talking newer doctors, younger doctors, they like the numbers side of things. All of my clients who are newer doctors want to be able to gauge how successful they are and how they're getting care to their patients, and having the filter by doctor, I think, is a really great tool.
I think it's so nice. One of them that stands out as pretty exciting to me that I recently was showing a doctor, and it was case acceptance rate by provider type. And it was interesting because as we were looking at it, you could just see, because he had been a startup, in the last 18 months, and you could just see that graph start to go up, but it was going up slowly. And interesting enough, when we saw it start to shoot up, he was like, oh, I just added a hygienist to my team. And as a startup, many practices don't start with a hygienist. They're the doctor's doing it all. And, and that's a big change to add that, expense of bringing that hygienist on. But like, what are the benefits? And it was really enlightening to be able to see that in real life, because I've got test data and stuff like that. So it was really interesting when he saw that, and he was like, okay, that was great, because it was about like 6 months ago, and he had seen such an increase of that. So
that's amazing. Another feature that I am really curious to learn more about, and it's the advanced patient list. Can you tell me, first of all, what that even is? And can you tell me how offices can use it?
Yeah, so the advanced patient list is a way of bringing up lists of patients with different filters, and then you can text a group of patients up to 100 at a time. So I'm going to bring in kind of the insights into that as well, because there's several insights of the analytics that are built into an automatic filter for the APL. What we call it the APL, the advanced patient list. And so you can take those patients, and maybe you're looking at new patients, right? You want to see like who were our new patients in the month of August. Maybe this is going to be next week, and you want to see all those patients in a list for the month of August. You can easily click a button. It will display them all. And I always think about, when I'm talking about features, like if I was in the office, how would I use it? And so I would, at the beginning of each month, pull up this list and send out just a group text. Well, not a group text, but I only have to type the message one time, right? Click all the patients, type out my message, thanking them for their visit, maybe throw an emoji in there, make it a little fun, and letting them know that we appreciated that they came to visit us and we hope they had a good summer, or talk about something that's coming up, or remind them that you're open on Saturdays or whatever it might be. It's just an easy way to just do a quick communication to those patients. So that's a few things that we look at with the insights. Is we have an automatic filter for the new patients, your reappointment rate, your patient attrition, and unscheduled treatment. So it's an easy way to filter and send out messages. I am going to say patient attrition just in case, someone wasn't sure what that meant. In the dental world, right, we always kind of consider if a patient hasn't been in for a visit in the last 18 months, they're kind of considered inactive, even though like their status in open dental might be active. They're kind of, in that dormant state.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what we kind of look at. So you're able to pull that up and say, okay, who hasn't been in 18 months, or their last visit was, December of 2023, and you want to send them all out a message, just reminding them that you're here and, you'd love to see them. Or even one of those messages that says like, hey, let us know if you'd like us to keep your account active, which might trigger them to call in and say, yeah, I do, we're going through a move or different changes, but I want to come back for an appointment soon. Or maybe they're going to just inform you that they have gone elsewhere. All you want to do is update your records anyways. So that's really cool. Then we've added other filters that you can filter your patients by: the patient statuses, insurance carriers, treatment. This is a new one that we've just added to the filter list. You can select up to 3 ADA procedures. So if it's part of their treatment plan, you can send out a message. So that's a great way that I would think offices might use it for open time, right? You have some open time in a schedule, or you're trying to, meet production goals for specific days. It's a nice way of pulling out and filtering out patients that are treatment planned for crowns that aren't scheduled. So you can send them out a message and letting them know you have some openings. You can filter by appointment dates. So where I would use that, Flex previously only had where you could filter by today, tomorrow, 2 days, and 3 days from now. And now you can look ahead and say, we just scheduled continuing ed or CPR training for the office, let's say November 1st, and you need to inform those patients that you need to reschedule. You can pull up those patients specifically for that day and send out a mass message to them all, letting them know to reach out that we need to reschedule. And you can even do that by provider. So when those last minute vacations come up for, a provider that's taking off a little bit more short notice in their book, and you need to get that notification out, you can do like a custom appointment date range along with a provider and send that type of message out as well. So those are some cool things. The last two parts of it is recare. So if you're trying to just fill some openings on the recare, and then we're going to be adding our ASAP list there as well. So that's to come. So that one's over the horizon there, and then in one of the next updates.
So just to recap, the APL, your advanced patient list, that is a way for us to filter our patients down and then be able to communicate with them based on those specific filters. So we can send essentially a blast text, but very strategically to the patients who need that text to be sent. Yes?
Exactly. Yep.
That's so cool. Well, Jenny, I have really appreciated this 3-part series. I've learned so much about what Flex can do. I was already a fan. I'm even a bigger fan now. I want to make sure that I'm being respectful of your time as well. So as we start to wrap this episode, we end all of our episodes with our signature question, which is, in your life and career, what has been your decoding moment that has allowed you to be successful?
Yeah. So I would say finding your passion, I think throughout my dental career, especially finding my passion for wanting to train and teach users new things has really been kind of my go-to. It's what I get the most, I feel the most accomplished with. And, every training's different. So that makes it fun. And like the biggest reward is someone just walking away saying, oh, you just taught me something that I didn't know before. Even you as a Flex user, you have your dental background, you have Flex knowledge, and just hearing you say like, I learned something new today. I think it's amazing. So that's one of my goals every day, is to just try to make someone else's job easier and not take that for granted. So
And you are and have always been a great teacher and a great trainer. I've been fortunate enough to learn so much from you, not just on the
Thank you.
podcast. So always appreciating that. And I definitely think that you found your calling and you're very great at what you do. So thank you for taking some time out of the teaching, the training, and the development side of things to spend time with our listeners and teach them about all wonderful things Flex.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me. Can I just say a couple of things, Brittany? I'm sure you're going to
Absolutely.
include some resources for, any users that are looking for Flex, but they can go to our website at www.flex.dental. I always have to remember that one, flex.dental. And you're going to include some information about a scheduling link if they schedule a demo, and they can receive, if they do sign up, one of Dr. Addison Killian's. So I don't know if people are familiar with those, but those are pretty amazing books. So we do have those available.
I feel like most of our listeners are in my network in one way, shape, or form, so they should be familiar. But if you are not, that's an incredible opportunity that they're giving us, and we will put all of that in the show notes. So if you're driving or if you're multitasking while you're listening, don't hesitate to check out those show notes when you have a moment, and you'll be able to get access to all of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Dental Decoders podcast. We hope you took away a valuable piece of information. As always, don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe to help us build our community of dental decoders. We look forward to seeing you for next week's episode.